The United States has 4.5% of the world's population, and it accounts for 20% of the world's deaths from COVID. China is a society 4 times larger population, and it has 1% of the number of deaths from COVID that the United States has. Many more people, many fewer deaths. How do you make sense of a country as rich as the United States, as highly developed as the United States, unable, compared with a much poorer country such as China, to either be prepared for or to cope with a public threat literally to the life of the people here?
Well, I mean, I love the way you put it in terms of the public threat, because when you have a public life that is so debased and degraded and devalued, that when there's a public threat, you're unable to provide an effective public response, so that the levels of civic deterioration, the levels of public disintegration, and we could talk about it in terms of public health, public education, public transportation, public conversation. All of those have been so degraded given our highly commodified world and culture, that when you have life and death issues so immediate, we already have life and death issues prior to the pandemic, of course, with poverty and so forth. But when one becomes so immediate, it's clear that America is a colossal failure in terms of having a high quality public life and therefore public response to public problems. China has a public and civic life that is quite intense. Now, it's authoritarian. It's got authoritarian Communist Party. It's got its own predatory capitalist tendencies under the aegis of the Communist Party that's bureaucratic and authoritarian, but they're able to mobilize and galvanize a public response. Now, America likes to deny its diminished and deteriorated public life and talk about its liberties. Well, we got personal liberties. We want to do what we want. Well, freedom is not licentiousness. Freedom is not doing anything as one likes in one's individualistic and hedonistic and egocentric orientation. That's not freedom at all. But that's how debased our understanding of freedom is with a debased public life. I mean, John Dewey talked about this in 1927, The Public and Its Problems. As a democratic socialist, he said, look, we have a public problem of depression, the economic depression. What will be our public response? And if it were not for the organizing of workers, if it were not for the organizing of Black folk, the A. Philip Randolphs and others, the response to that public crisis would have been so much worse. In the end, the name remained one of just saving capitalism rather than transforming workplace and moving toward the kind of democracy at work that you've written about with such eloquence. So that it's a very sad commentary on just how spiritually decayed and morally decrepit our society actually is as an American experiment. It's a very, very sad affair. Not sad enough for us to give up on fighting. We got to fight no matter what, but we have to tell the grim truths even as we fight. And I'm never surprised by white supremacist dogma, by capitalist degradation of human beings, patriarchal subject. I'm never surprised. I just don't allow any kind of despair to get in the way of fighting and resisting those kinds of attempts to degrade any slice of humanity, no matter where they are, my brother.